Hi, today's topic is to talk about the environment and tools that you might want to use when working with the Enterprise Data Catalog, with the API, or building any custom scanners. My name's Darren Wrigley, and I'll walk you through this environment. So let's firstly answer the question why. Why do you care and why would you want to use them? So we have some of these tools listed like Git, Python, VS Code, and a REST client. These are the things that I use almost every day. So for Git, it's a source code management tool. Main reason for using that is we do use GitHub to publish some sample code for both API and custom scanner examples, but also if you're writing any scripts, use Git, check in and check out, and that gives you the ability to share across the team, but also just to make sure that everything is backed up and you can look at versions over time. Python, I find that is the easiest and best way to do any sort of programming or scripting or things. As I said, we have examples on GitHub. It's much less complex than Java. We're not going to stop you from using Java. There's plenty of Java examples out there as well, but I just find it better. I've actually also worked with some sites recently that are also preferring to use Python over any other language, and I think it just makes it an easy environment. You don't have to worry about compiling in jar files and anything else. And that leads me to the next one, which is Visual Studio Code. It's a free editor from Microsoft. Even though it's Microsoft, it's not only Microsoft tools. It works on all platforms, so that's Windows, Mac, Linux. It works for pretty much all languages like Python and Java and CSS and JavaScript and pretty much everything else. There are alternatives, so go ahead and use Eclipse if you're familiar with that, or there's other editors as well. And the last thing is a REST client. You can choose, but ones that I put here as an example is Postman and Insomnia. There's many others. The reason I like those two is that you can not only test queries against the API, you can generate code examples for a variety of languages too. So I find that quite useful. In the examples that I may show, I'll probably use Insomnia, but really the Postman and Insomnia have very similar functionality. So just as a quick reference here for various operating systems that you use for each of these tools, like Git, for instance, you already get it out of the box with Mac OS and with Linux. Nothing to do there. With Git, you would need to install it on Windows. Python, Windows doesn't have any Python at all. Mac and Linux do come shipped with a Python 2.7, but that Python 2 or legacy Python is not going to be supported after the end of 2019, so better to use Python 3. The current API examples that we have are still working with the 2.7, but pretty much anything new that I'm doing now that I'll promote or push out onto the GitHub repository will be 3.6 plus. So 3.7 is the current version. So I'll probably have some separate videos on how to set that up for various operating systems, but for macOS, it's really easy. Once you install Homebrew, you can just brew install Python 3. You could also just download Python from python.org and set it up that way. For Linux, it's a little bit more involved and not that difficult. You can, there's plenty of articles out there on how to do that. The last one is Visual Studio Code. There are installers for pretty much every operating system. It's pretty easy. Same with the REST client. What we'll do now is we'll split up into different sections, and I'll try and put up on the screen here timings for if you want to just skip and go forward to each of those components. So let's start with Windows. All right, so let's have a look at Windows. I've got a Windows, in this case, a Windows server, and I've also got the links for things like downloading Git and Python and others. So you can just search Git and you'll get things like this, gitscm.com. You can download Git for various operating systems. So it's only really Windows you need that. For Python, same thing. You can download and download for Windows, for instance, and for VS Code and so others. So just have a look at this environment quickly. I don't have anything installed here, so if I try to Git, for example, it's not recognized. Python, same thing. So I already have them downloaded, so I'm just going to run these, and I may just fast forward because you don't really need to see how all that works, but let's just install Git and let's do the same thing for Python. It's Python 3.7. So we have Python there. I don't know why that's going twice. Let's also install VS Code. I'm not going to launch that. And the last one, I'm also going to set up Insomnia. Great, that's running. And cancel. So I think we're good there. Let's just close down this command prompt and create a new one. And if I now type git, yep, I've got git now. We've got Python. Actually, that's not there. Why is that? Oh, I'll check that out. And VS Code is now running. Okay, so let's go and set up things on the Mac. It doesn't take too long because, as you see here, we already have Git. We just need to make sure we install Python, and this Python 3.6 is for two reasons. One is VS Code doesn't work with the default Python, and it's probably best not to use that anyway. And we're going to use Homebrew to do that install, or you could run it from the Python website. So let's open up our Mac machine here. I've got my terminal. And let's just double check a few things. Git, let's just try git. Okay, it comes back, or git minus version. That gives us that, that's fine. And let's see if Python, well, Python we know, let's say Python 2.7, that's fine. We don't want to override that, but we want to provide a Python 3. So let's see which Python 3, it's not there. Okay, so we can just, so on this machine already, if I look at the Launchpad, we already have Xcode, and sometimes the tools and technologies that we'll use some of the Xcode components, especially for Homebrew and installing some command line tools. So I've already got that installed. You can go ahead and install it. It's free from Apple there. So to get Python, it's just brew install Python 3, and it can take a little while, so we'll just let that run, and I may just fast forward here, but the end result is we'll have our Python 3 from the command line. Actually, while that is running, let's just let that go. I'm going to go over here and also download Visual Studio Code. So I've just gone to code.visualstudio.com, and it recognizes my operating system, and let's just download that for the Mac, and we'll see the install running behind here as well. Let's just minimize that. We now have a successful build, and we can pip3 install various packages. It gives us some information there about symbolic links and things. You can look at that when you go and do that on your own machine, but let's just try this. Python 3 version, it's a 3.7.3, and I'm not sure if that will override that. No, it keeps the 2.7 original. So basically when we're running scripts, we'll use Python 3.7, and we've got Git. So we'll take a pause there and just wait for that download to finish. Okay, our download's finished. We can just click on that package to run the installer and pretty much get it installed, and that's it. So it links us to a getting started page. There's plenty of tutorials there on how to do things like C++, Java, Python, PHP, everything else. This is not a tutorial there, but we can go ahead and look at these different extensions. So one of them is the Python extension, which is going to ask us to run anyway. Actually, I might as well just download that now while we're here. So let's just go and install that. Yeah, so it's a Python extension for VS Code, and we'll just allow that and install. So if we opened up a Python script and it didn't have the extension, it's going to ask us to do that anyway. It looks at the .py extension, and let's just install. We don't need this README, but apart from that, this VS Code now will work exactly the same whether you're on Windows or Mac or even Linux if you wanted to use that. Okay, the last section here is we'll go and build, create the Python actually 3.7 install and get that set up to run on Linux. So you may want to work with your system administrator to do that. What I'm using here is an article that I found because it's not part of the standard Red Hat distribution, is how to build or install the latest version of Python on Linux, and basically we install GCC and OpenSSL, Devel, and a few other things. And then we just go and download Python and build it. So I'll just go and walk through those steps, but the article is right here. Install Python 3.7 on CentOS, and it may be different for your distribution. So let's just try that. So first thing we're going to do is connect to our terminal session, and we'll just double check. Python 3 is not there. Python version, and spell Python right. Let's try this. Yeah, so it's 275. So we don't want to override that because other applications are dependent on that. So what we're going to do here is yum install the various components that might need it. So that's the two libraries there. So we just want to, yes, we'll choose those. So we're done there, and we'll set up a folder. I'll just call it PySource. So we'll just get a place to put these folders into, or the download shouldn't take too long, and then it's just here, wget. So this will get us the basically the source code, and then it's Python, so we'll just untar that. And let's look there, so, and change to that Python folder, and we're going to just run this configuration, which is part of the article here. We'll just let that run. Okay, and the last thing we're doing, you have to have sudo privileges or just run it as root. Alt install. Okay. Everything looks like it's good. Let's try it and see. So which Python 3.7, and it's there. 3.7, I think it's -v now. Yep, so that's running, and we've still got Python -v, which is the version 2. So we've got version 3 and version 2. You could put a symbolic link for Python 3 as well, but actually virtual environment set that up for us. So just in summary, we've installed and got all our tools on both Windows, macOS, and Linux. At least for Linux, we've got Git, and we've just installed Python, so we're ready to run anything. And it doesn't really make sense in a terminal environment to install things like VS Code or the REST client. So that ends this part of the session.